Hey there, I'm here with some bad news. Now might not be the perfect time for you to buy a home. Whether you think this is music to your ears or frustrating AF, stay tuned for the reasons why I think now might not be the best time to buy or sell a home. Okay, let's jump right in on why I think now might not be the perfect time for you to buy or sell a home. The bottom line is there is no right time. There is no perfect market, and I don't believe you can time the market. What I do believe is that now could be the right time depending on your circumstances. Ultimately, some people don't have a choice about when they have to sell their home. Life happens, and oftentimes people have to buy or sell when they're getting a new job, getting married or divorced, when they have a new baby, or maybe there's a death in the family. And generally, this requires a change sooner rather than later, no matter what the market is doing. I know that when I was getting divorced, I needed to sell my home right then. It didn't matter that it was during the holidays, and typically the market in our area tends to slow down a little bit. I was able to successfully sell and then buy, which really leads me to my main point here, and that is that I think the market has less to do with the success of a real estate transaction than the person you've chosen as your realtor. When you have a knowledgeable expert, a realtor who knows the market, understands the current situation, and has a solid referral network of lenders and other partners who can help you navigate the ins and outs of buying and selling real estate, then there is no time that's impossible. There's no wrong time. So then the issue simply becomes, what do you need? What is best or perfect for you? And I promise you, people successfully buy and sell real estate all the time. If your life circumstances are telling you to make a move now, then now is the perfect time for you. And a good agent will be able to help you successfully navigate a transaction no matter what is going on around you. And I don't just mean that if you really have to bite the bullet, someone can help you cut your losses and run. I mean, I believe that no matter what the conditions of the market are, if your life requires a change to be made, then a good team behind you can help guide you and lead you to what is really a very favorable and hopefully a really profitable transaction for you. What you need to remember is that no market is perfect. A seller's market means you're going to get more as a seller, but you're going to pay more as a buyer. This will ultimately sort itself out in the wash, meaning if you have multiple transactions and you get more for the house you're selling, you'll probably be paying more for the house you're buying. And the reverse is also true. However, if you're thinking to yourself, well, I'm a first-time home buyer, so in this seller's market, I'm totally screwed, listen up, because I have some good news for you too. If your life circumstances are telling you that you need to make a move now, then have no fear, you will be fine. An experienced agent and lending team will make sure that you are using the market and the products available in that market to leverage your position and really get you into a great position no matter what is going on around you. But what about for those of you who don't have to make a move? Maybe you've been thinking about stepping up and buying a larger home or entering the market for the first time, or maybe you're looking at downsizing, but you're not really sure if this is the right time. You're probably hearing a lot of conflicting information. People all over the news and social media have lots of opinions. You may have those amazing friends or family that consider themselves experts, and they're losing their minds about the interest rates, or they're telling you to just wait until the market crashes to buy. Well, I have lots of things to say about this, and some of them I probably shouldn't or can't in order to keep this family friendly. But the bottom line is, first of all, be really careful about where you get your news. Listen to experts and people in the field, not the guy down the street or your well-meaning brother-in-law. And then ultimately my response is same. The reality is there is no right time no matter what the market is doing. But there are definitely going to be factors that will impact your transaction, and that's why having an amazing realtor who's holding your hand and guiding you and coaching you is so important. Really, the biggest thing about any market is that you have to have someone who can help you understand what the market means to you and how it will affect your transaction and the process and the offers you're going to have to make, those kinds of things. So let's look at a couple examples here of some really different markets. Markets that some people thought were an excellent or amazing time to buy, and others that people just said, run, don't do anything, it's horrible. A lot of this just depends on perspective and ultimately what you're looking for or your specific goals or circumstances. Remember, I'm here in beautiful Colorado, so when I'm discussing things like market trends, I'm either talking very broad, like overall interest rates, federal interest rates, Or I'm talking about a specific local market and what we're seeing here in Colorado. And Colorado is definitely not the general rule or the norm. So I want you to keep that in mind as you're listening if you happen to be watching this and you don't actually live in Colorado or you're not planning on moving here. First of all, let's talk about that fallout that we saw on the housing market after the series of interest rate increases in 2022 and 2023. As interest rates got progressively higher, people could no longer afford as much home with the same payment. When the rates were historically low, people were able to afford a much bigger home for the same or lower payment than they could afford later after the interest rates increased. The effect on our housing market was a pretty significant cooling. In some areas that had been super hot, it kind of slowed, and in other areas it came to a screeching halt. People didn't want to buy a home with these higher interest rates because their payment was much higher than they could qualify for or afford. And then people were hesitant to sell their house if they were locked into a lower interest rate. And so we really just saw the market slow down as everybody just sat on the fence and see what would happen. But here's the thing about the market. While everyone was sitting back and waiting for interest rates to drop, the mortgage industry came up with creative ways to keep things moving. And they offered rate buy downs, which basically means that the seller could pay to buy down the rate for the buyer for a number of years. And the result was that people would get a much lower interest rate for that specified amount of time, meaning that they could afford the payment just like prior to the rates increasing. This means that those people who were ready to buy during this time period could still buy the house that they wanted, have a payment that they could afford with that adjusted interest rate, and then ultimately refinance when interest rates shift. And you know what else was especially great for these people who entered the market at this time? They didn't pay a premium and they didn't have to fight off their competition with a stick, since many folks were simply too scared to make a move. Ultimately, this awesome tool set them up to be way ahead in terms of equity. What I mean is that when fewer people are out there looking to buy, in this instance because of higher interest rates and people just not really being super informed, there's less competition. When there's less competition, prices are lower, you pay less. So these people who had an awesome agent and a lending team that guided them about the products and options were able to buy a home at a lower price tag, leveraging those products available to them, making their monthly payment more manageable, and then ultimately they have this greater equity and they'll build it faster than people who paid more, regardless of the interest rate. The bottom line is if you pay less for your home, you are ahead of the game rather than paying more, regardless of the interest rate. At the time of this recording, interest rates have not really shifted down significantly. So if you're still thinking about it and you're thinking maybe you'd like to try and get on this train, this is the time. The point here is that even in a slower market, even in our seller's market that we're seeing right now, and even with these higher interest rates, it might just be the perfect time for you to make a move if you have a good team coaching you and if you can make this benefit your specific situation. Okay, finally, another example of that crazy hot market from 2021. Due in part to historically low interest rates and then post-COVID craziness, there was this frenzy in the market which resulted in a huge increase in demand, and we saw prices skyrocket and the market become incredibly competitive. Just like I previously mentioned, when the market is competitive, prices are higher. And so then it doesn't really matter what the interest rate is, you're still paying more for the same house. Also, in order to be competitive, we saw multiple offers, bidding wars, and some buyers being so desperate to get into their house that they made decisions that might not be great for them long term. As a side note, this is what we're expecting to see when interest rates do drop and the market starts to thaw a little bit. It's basically a principle of supply and demand. To get an offer accepted in a super competitive market without giving away your firstborn is crucial. You need to know that your agent has your back and isn't going to advise you to go beyond your budget or to waive your rights or to do anything unethical or impractical. And at the same time, you need someone who is available for you, ready to negotiate and fight for you effectively. You need an advocate and a representative in what could be a very complicated and time-sensitive transaction. So even in the situation where the market was crazy, I wouldn't call it the right or wrong time to buy. It truly depends on your needs, your wants, your situation, and your circumstances. There's ways to make any market the perfect time. And finally, I want to address my first-time home buying friends out there. I see you. I know that this market is crazy and scary, and you might feel super intimidated or frustrated. I know that you are waiting to see if interest rates drop or if prices are going to fall. I know many of you have thrown in the towel or resigning yourself to be a renting lifer, but I need you to hear me now. I really need you to listen. There is no perfect time. Even when interest rates drop, it's not going to be easier for you because, as I just mentioned, there are lots and lots of folks out there with thinking just like this, waiting to jump into the market until the interest rates drop. And then when we have that increase in demand, prices are going to increase. This is especially hard for you given that you have a fixed down payment, basically whatever amount you have managed to save. And unlike someone who has something to sell, your amount is only what it is. It doesn't matter if people are getting more in the market as a seller's market. Does this make sense? What I'm saying is that in my opinion, the absolute best time that you could buy a home is once you've saved up the minimum down payment that you and your lender have decided is a realistic amount to get you into a starter home. Now, I'm not going to spend a lot of time here defining a starter home because I have an entire video committed to that, so check it out. But ultimately, you have to get in the door somewhere, and that is a starter home. It is not your dream home, not your forever home, but it's a place to start. And I also have an entire video on being a first-time home buyer here in Colorado. So again, not gonna really dive deeper into that here, but I guess if there's one thing that I hope you could take from this, it would be to stop waiting for the perfect conditions. Talk to your lender, talk to your agent, and ask them how to put a plan together today that will leverage the current market conditions and get you into your first home now. So to recap, there is simply no perfect time and there's no impossible time, but with a trusted and knowledgeable realtor and team helping educate you, helping you navigate the current market conditions, you can be very successful at buying, selling, or both, no matter what is going on around you. If you found this information helpful, I would sure appreciate you showing me some love by liking or subscribing to my channel. And if you want to chat more about your specifics, or if you have any questions about anything I discussed here or anything real estate, feel free to reach out. My contact information is below.